Actually, having participated in these discussions on cottages for a significant length of time, I don't think there are very many left.
No.
And the traditional way that we've seen repeated on and on is if the lot is deep enough and the structure is added in front, there's usually some type of interior courtyard, relatively small, and the cottage is in the rear, predominantly in the setback, and therefore is not exposed. The permit holder here had the options of doing it that way, which probably was closer to what RDT would have liked, but he could have also expanded to the property lines. And I think that was a significant issue in relationship to the neighbors. The question of the variance is not before us. It wasn't appealed. It's as of right to develop within the constraints of that variance. Scale-wise, you're talking about 2 stories on each. It's not overbearing scale. It's very similar scale to the appellant's building. It's very similar scale to other buildings. The setbacks, I think, do a lot to create some type of visual quarters between the 2 buildings, and I think is a significant compromise given to the appellants. I don't think there is a formula for what makes good residential buildings. I'm not sure that the department is perfect 100% of the time. I don't think they would pose that anyway. In this instance, I support, I think, what has occurred in a fairly long process that has created some compromises and I think has created an interesting building. Okay. I'll leave it at that.
I tend to concur with Commissioner Fung. Appellant's counsel talked about compatibility with neighboring buildings. It's similar in scale to her own building. I took, though, with seriousness her issues about a licensed contractor. It was a relief to hear from Mr. Pierce and his representation that a licensed contractor would be utilized. It is a fairly modest project, and I see that there is no mid-block open space and other requirements. So I, too, would be inclined to reject the appeal. I do know that we have the issues of the 2 permits to address.
I would agree with President Peterson and Commissioner Fung. What was originally asked for by the residential design team was that the Planning Commission take DR because of 2 issues, one of them having to do with mid-block open space, and that is a little surprising because there is no well-defined mid-block open space in this particular area, and the other one had to do with non-compatibility. And in a way, it is non-compatible in that it does not look like every other house that one generally runs across. But I think what this couple was able to do, and their designer or whomever else might have been involved in this, was come up with something that's very modest and very thoughtful and unique. And I'll probably make a point to, once this project is finished, to pass by and look at how it looks in its finished form. It is not at all unusual. First of all, we cannot remand. I think, Mr. Lightfoot, you asked that we send this back to the Planning Commission. That's certainly not within our power. But it's not that unusual for a Planning Commission to disagree with its staff or some recommendation it makes. It's not unusual for this body, for the Board of Appeals, to disagree with the Planning Commission. However, in this particular case, I intend to agree with the Planning Commission, and I intend to uphold this permit. As to how best to deal with this, I hope the neighbors don't feel bullied. I think over time, I would like to believe that you're going to feel that you have a pretty unique, nice house in the neighborhood, and I can assure you, based upon what we've seen here tonight, you're going to have really nice neighbors. and I'm sure they're going to come to think that you're really nice also. So I hope that that part of the thing works itself out, because you're going to be neighbors. I don't know what we can do about the two-permit process other than request that the board, the planning department, do whatever they can to both expedite and ease the process as best they can administratively.
I believe we have no choice except to uphold the permit and one portion of the work related to one of the two structures.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if it would work for DVI and Mr. Cornfield. The board has its special tool of a special conditions permit, which is normally applied for when you add a condition to an issued permit. That process does create a second BPA number. It is unappealable under the code, but it would be an internal process.
We better ask Mr. Cornfield.
Thank you for your recommendation, your suggestion, but I don't believe that works in this case, because that would just be a modification of this permit, and what we really need is a separate permit for this other structure.
Even though it would create a different, a second BPA?
That's right. It would be just modifying this permit.
If I was to think about the sequencing, I would probably recommend to the permit holders to segregate the rear structure as part of this permit. You want to respond to that? Just that, please.
Thank you very much. Sure. You know, this information came to us yesterday. This is really shocking to us. We've been down this road. We thought we were at the end of it, and now we're looking at the possibility of a brand new permit, a brand new process. It's gut wrenching. If there's any possibility of being really creative about this within the law, so that because actually this thing, as Mr. Sanchez pointed out, it's been
Excuse
vetted.
me, Mr. Pierce, you can raise that up and be more comfortable. There you go.
As Mr. Sanchez pointed out, this whole thing has been vetted by the planning department, and we've been through this process. I feel like if there's any way to strip out the studio and just attach it to another piece of paper and close the window on the appeals for it, if that's possible, then we'll be good to go. But
You're saying you'd like to build the front portion?
well, that's the
first?
thing, is that the actual, it's a very, very tight budget. We don't have a lot of money to do this thing, and we've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of, all this green stuff is going to be expensive. So the idea is to actually build the two structures simultaneously, and without going into the details, it's just going to work out that way for us financially as well. So, not to mention the fact that there is a line item on the permit that says studio, and it was given to us. And we paid for it. We paid for it.
I understand, but I think you're not going to have much of a choice, sir.
Okay. I understand.
And Mr. Cornfield and Mr. Sanchez, once a decision is made, are very helpful, but I believe that they're indicating there is no other option at this point.
Understood.
And I don't think we have that option either. So I'm prepared to make the motion, but I need to know which portion of the building you want on this permit.
Let's build this house. Yeah.
Then I'm going to move that the permit be upheld and that the permit reflects the construction of the new structure in the front.
The permit reflect the,
Oh, excuse me, the house, the galleries in the front, the house is in the rear, the addition and the existing car.
so Commissioner Fung, just an FYI, my intention is to vote against your motion, and I'm not sure if 4 votes are needed or not.
4 votes would be needed.
I think you need 4 votes, so I hate to do this to Commissioner Huang, but I have a feeling this one might be going over.
Well, let's see what, we haven't voted yet, so.